Hi everybody and welcome to a grimdark future firefight battle report. Dark Brothers versus alien hives. Sergeant Elias and his squad of blood brothers have escaped an unstable planet in the Legatos Sector. The entire sector has become a dangerous place, ravaged by debris, asteroids, uncontrolled fire, and large abandoned spacecrafts. A brief communication with the command ship just outside the sector has resulted in a new mission for the sergeant. He now has a squad of Dark Brothers under the command of Prime Lieutenant Armando on board. Sergeant Elias must drop off the Dark Brothers on a large, abandoned and uncontrolled spacecraft, and their mission is to change the course of the spacecraft. Lieutenant Armando has intelligence showing a large presence of alien life forms on board, and he knows that it will most likely be a suicide mission. Lieutenant Armando is the leader of the Dark Brothers Death Squad, among the most elite units of the Battle Brothers. He is tough. He's armed with a plasma pistol and a relic sword. He has two Dark Assault Brothers with him, armed with heavy pistols. He has a Dark Brother armed with dual energy claw, and finally a Dark Support Brother armed with missile launcher. All of them are grim, and the Support Brother is also relentless. Lurking inside the spacecraft is a Prime Warrior with a tough value of 6 and armed with razor claws. Two Hive Warriors also with razor claws, and two Ravenous Beasts, again with razor claws, but they are also fast. They have Strider and Rapid Strike. All of them have a tough value of 3, but the Prime Warrior has a tough value of 6, and they are all fearless, with the exception of the Ravenous Beasts. Lieutenant Armando and his brothers have deployed in the landing bay of the spacecraft, and the aliens here will deploy randomly on the other side of this cargo bay. The white dice are the possible deployment positions. So let's roll a dice for each of the aliens, beginning with the Hive Warrior here. He will go to deployment position number 3. The other Hive Warrior, and he will go to position number 2. Then we will deploy the Ravenous Beasts. Number 6, that's not possible. We only have 5. And he will go to number 5. And the second Ravenous Beast, he will be deployed in number 3, or the number closest to number 3. And that means that the Prime Warrior will deploy at number 1. So this is how it looks. All the aliens have deployed on the left side of the cargo bay. Let's roll off to see who will activate first. The aliens will use the green dice and a roll of 2, and the Dark Brothers the purple dice, a roll of 4. Lieutenant Armando will be the first one to activate. And with deployment completed, the next thing to do is to use the scout ability, so the Ravenous Beasts will move up to 12 inches to a better position. At least they are closer to the Dark Brothers and their entrance. The mission for the Dark Brothers is to change the course of the spacecraft. There are 3 command consoles on board, and they will have to reprogram at least 2 of them. So they must take control of the command consoles, and if they have control of at least 2 of them at the end of round 4, they have managed to change the course of the spacecraft and completed the mission. That will be a minor victory. If they can evacuate any of the Dark Brothers, it will be a major victory. And of course the aliens have to prevent all that. So can a squad of 5 units with only 1 hero do anything against 5 units, all of them with toughness 3 and 1 of them with toughness 6? We will see. Let's go to round number 1. First unit to activate is the Dark Brother here with the heavy pistol. He moves to the right, and he is out of charging range of any of the aliens in this position. But the Ravenous Beasts are fast, and this one immediately rushes towards the Dark Brother. It will not be able to reach him though, but it's very, very close and threatening. And as a response to that, the support brother with the missile launcher advances, and that takes him into shooting distance, and he fires his missiles. He will need a 3 to hit the ravenous beast, and it's a 6, so that gives him one more shot because of the relentless rule. So another hit. 2 missiles will hit the ravenous beast. It's AP2, and that means 6 saves for the beast. And they both fail. So the ravenous beast is hit by 2 missiles, and they both have the deadly special rule. So that will be a total of 6 wounds for the ravenous beasts. And of course, it will go down. It will be shot down by the missiles. And with a roll of 5, that's way too much for it to handle. So it's blasted right back and out of the game. Great shot here by the support brother. And next up, a Hive warrior. It moves close to the center of the battlefield here and close to the control panel, the command console, the target of the mission for the Dark Brothers. And now Lieutenant Armando is on the move. He moves out of the door and to the right, and he will be able to reach the command console in the next round. But the remaining ravenous beasts will try to block his way. And yeah, they are very close to each other here in the upper right part of the cargo bay. Then the Dark Brother with the dual energy claws moves right towards the middle of the cargo bay. And he will be able to reach the second command console in the next round. And then the Hive warrior here, it will not be able to reach him. They do not have ranged weapons at all, the alien hives, so they will have to go into close combat to do some damage. The final Dark Brother to leave the landing bay and move out is the one with the heavy pistol here. He advances 6 inches, and that takes him into shooting distance of the Hive warrior. He will need a 3 to hit, and he also rolls a 6. So that's a hit, and again with AP1 they will need a 5, and this time the Hive warrior blocks the shot, so no damage. Final activation of round number 1 is the Prime Warrior, and it seems to be a little afraid of the missile launcher. It just saw the kind of damage it can do, so it stays back close to the third command console, and this is how the battlefield looks at the end of round number 1. All the Dark Brothers have moved into the cargo bay, and several of them are within reach of command consoles. But in the next round, almost all of the aliens will be within charge range, and that could really hurt the brothers. We will see what will happen in round number 2. The Dark Brothers finished first in the previous round, so they will activate first here, and the first activation is Armando, and he charges against the ravenous beast in front of him. He has 2 attacks with his relic sword, hitting on a 3, and he fails 1 and hits 1. And the relic sword is AP2, so the beast will need a 6 to block, and that fails. And the relic sword has the deadly special rule, which means 3 wounds to the beast, and it goes down. And now the roll on the wound chart, it's a 3, so it's only stunned. And that means Lieutenant Armando will back off a bit, but he will be close enough to the command console to capture it and possibly reprogram it at the end of the round. And immediately after, the ravenous beast activates and gets back up, so it won't be underground and exposed to any of the Dark Brothers. It's now or never for this brother with the dual energy claws. He attacks the Hive warrior. He has 4 attacks, and he will be hitting on 3s. And that looks like only 2 of them hit the target, and they are AP nothing, so the Hive warrior will block with a defense roll of 4. First this one, and the other one is a rending hit, so it will need a 6 to block that, and it fails, so 1 wound, and that's nowhere near enough to take it down. So it will be able to fight back, and the Hive Warrior will attack with 6 Razor Claws attacks, hitting on 4. And here we go, 6 attacks. And that looks really bad for the Hive Warrior. Only 1 hit, and it's not even a rending hit. And with AP nothing, the Dark Brother will defend with a roll of 3. Should be possible. And he defends the attack here without a scratch. And he moves slightly back. But they are not finished at all, because now the Hive Warrior attacks immediately after the first fight. And that means 6 attacks again, but it will only hit with a roll of 6 because it's fatigued. And this time, ironically, it's a lot better. 2 hits this time, and the Dark Brother will defend with a roll of 3. So 1 hit is blocked, but the other one goes through. So 1 hit against the Dark Brother. He goes down with 1 wound. And that seemed to pay off for the Hive Warrior. An aggressive strategy, and with a roll of 5, it's a total of 6. The Dark Brother with the dual energy claws is taken out of the game now. First casualty of the Dark Brothers. Back to the upper right part of the battlefield. The Dark Brother with the heavy pistol advances, and that takes him into visible shooting range of the ravenous beast. He fires 1 shot. He will hit with a roll of 2 because he's within 12 inches of the lieutenant with the precision shot special rule, and he can't fail that one, but the ravenous beast can fail the defense roll. It would have needed a 5, so a 2 is not enough. It goes down again, and this time with 4 wounds. So let's see the roll on the wound chart. This time it's a 5, a total of 9, and that is too much. The second ravenous beast will leave the battlefield. The Prime Warrior is still too far away to charge anybody, so it positions itself behind this cover, so it won't be hit or exposed to the missile launcher. But it will also be close enough to charge next round. But the Dark Brother with the missile launcher is still able to see and shoot, so he positions himself here and fires his missile launcher against the Hive Warrior. With the lock-on ability, he will need a 3, so again a solid hit with the missile, and it will take a roll of 6 to block. 5, not enough. So once again, the missile will strike deep into the flesh of the aliens, and with the deadly rule, that's 3 additional wounds to this Hive Warrior. So 4 wounds now. And that means a roll on the wound chart. 8 is too much, so let's see the roll here. It's a 3, so 7, just enough to keep it in the game. It's stunned. And with the missile launcher already fired this round, this Hive Warrior will block the way, so the fallen Hive Warrior is not exposed to any kind of charges or shooting. So it will position itself right in front of the Dark Brother with the heavy pistol, so he won't be able to fire and potentially take out the stunned Hive Warrior. But he can fire at this one instead, 1 shot. But with a 2, he fails his shot. Maybe he is afraid now. He's too shaken by the sight of the charging Hive Warrior. So here at the end of the second round, we had casualties on both sides. But Lieutenant Armando managed to position himself close enough to the command console to capture it, and that means he can reprogram it. And we will just put this token in front of it. So 1 out of the 2 needed objectives have been completed. Let's go to the third round. The aliens activate first in the third round, and their choice is to get this Hive Warrior back into the game so he's no longer stunned and exposed underground. Lieutenant Armando immediately reacts and advances his full range of 6 inches and takes a shot with his plasma pistol. He has a +1 because of precision shots. So let's see, and with a roll of 6, he is just a sharpshooter, and he hits the alien with a plasma pistol, and that's a P4. So a 6 in defense will be needed, and once again, the Hive Warrior is shot and goes down. That's a total of 5 wounds now, so it really has to roll low on the wound chart to survive. And the roll is, well, cannot be any lower. A 1, it's still only stunned. And now the moment the aliens have been waiting for, a full charge with 6 razor claws attacks, hitting on 4s. Let's see the total amount of hits. 3 hits, and the Dark Brother will defend them with a roll of 3 or more. Let's see if it's too much for him. 3 defense rolls, and, well, at least one of them failed here. Yeah, one of the rolls did not manage to block the attack, so he goes down with 1 wound. Could be the end of him. He will have to roll on the wound chart. And with a roll of 3, he is stunned. And the Hive Warrior will back off. The aliens are getting awfully close now, and that forces the support brother to move back inside the landing bay. He will still be able to fire his rocket here. He will need a 3 to hit, and he fails the shot. Missile misfires. The Prime Warrior activates, and it will not be able to reach Lieutenant Armando with a charge, but it will be right up in his face. And since he has already activated and the aliens activate first in the next round, this looks really, really bad for Lieutenant Armando. One Dark Brother has the chance to do something about it, but he decides not to charge the Prime Warrior. Probably a wise decision. So final activation of the third round. This Dark Brother gets back up. He's wounded, but he's ready for battle in the next round. At the end of round 3, the Dark Brothers have managed to take out quite a few aliens. They have captured and reprogrammed 1 command console, but the aliens are real close now. Nothing is yet decided. Round number 4. And round 4 will begin with the fight we have been waiting for. The 2 leaders against each other. The Prime Warrior charges Lieutenant Armando with 8 devastating razor claws attacks, hitting on 4s. 4 hits. Could have been worse, could have been better. And since Armando is the only Prime Brother in this squad, his armor is good enough to defend with a roll of 2 or more. And that means he blocks all of the Prime Warrior's attacks. The claws do nothing but scratch his armor slightly, and now he can fight back. 2 attacks with his relic sword. He will hit on a roll of 3. And he hit with both his relic sword attacks. It's AP2. The Prime Warrior has a defense value of 4, so it will need 6s to, well, 2 failed defense rolls, and that means with the deadly relic sword, 6 wounds to the Prime Warrior. And 6 wounds is enough to take it down. Not what the Prime Warrior was hoping for. A roll on the wound chart, and it's a 6. This is an amazing performance by Lieutenant Armando. He was attacked first. He just shook off the claws of the warrior, and then he fought back with devastating power. And now it's once again time for the missiles to be launched. And with a roll of 3, a missile hits the Hive warrior. And even though he forgets that he could fire another missile because of the relentless rule, the Hive warrior does not block the first missile, so he will take 3 wounds, and that takes him down. And the roll on the wound chart is a 5, and that means the Hive warrior is blasted to alien pieces by the missile. It's beginning to look bad for the alien hives here. The Hive warrior is wounded, so he cannot do anything else but stand up and block the way to the command console, and then we will see how his fate will be decided. First, this Dark Brother. He moves slightly closer and shoots, and he is within the precision shot range of the lieutenant, so he will hit with a 2. And the Hive warrior will need a 5 to block, and he cannot do anything at all. He will take 1 more additional wound, and that will be nearly impossible for him to survive. But, well, once again, he rolls really, really low on the wound chart. He is only stunned. He refuses to leave this game. But in the end here, Lieutenant Armando leaves him no choice. He charges the stunned Hive warrior and takes him out. And he is also close enough to the second command console to capture it. And the final Dark Brother moves into the landing bay, and from here he can signal the spacecraft and prepare to evacuate the Dark Brothers. Lieutenant Armando reprograms the second command console, and by doing so, the spacecraft will change its course and the mission is complete. Sergeant Elias and his blood brothers land the space shuttle, and they evacuate all of the Dark Brothers. This was expected to be a really, really tough suicide mission, but Lieutenant Armando and his Dark Brothers Death Squad thought otherwise, and they can now evacuate 4 out of 5 Dark Brothers. And that means the mission is a huge and major success. The space shuttle can leave, and we will continue to follow Lieutenant Armando and Sergeant Elias. Thanks a lot for watching this battle report. I hope you'll join me for future bad rips.